minutes. Vedave Desai is with us, who is the executive director and co-founder of the New York Taxi Workers Alliance. It's an alliance that represents, 18,000 taxi drivers in New York City. So on Saturday from 6 to 7 Eastern Time, you organized taxi drivers to not pick up passengers at JFK. Is that right? Why?
That's right. We were
at Terminal 4.
We were outraged by this so-called executive order. I mean, it's absolutely inhumane and cruel. And we are a workforce that's largely Muslim and Sikh. And we know that, when the flames of Islamophobia are fanned, and now by the presidency, it has a ripple effect on everyday people in this country. We've known through the years that taxi drivers, who are 20 times more likely to be killed on the job than any other worker, have often been the workers that have been the victims of hate crimes. And
so what happened?
It was just...
How many taxis? They just wouldn't go to Terminal 4?
That's right, yeah. I mean, it was an act of solidarity. It was an act of consciousness. What is happening in this country is not normal. We refuse to accept this as normalcy. We are a better humanity than this.
You called on Uber as well, but they didn't abide.
We in New York City, we have over 19,000 members, and that includes Uber drivers. But Uber as a company sought to take advantage of our strike, and of course, it's backfired. People have been really outraged, but it's not surprising because the CEO of Uber is an advisor to the president, and Uber has an absolutely atrocious policy in its treatment of the workers.
And in many other cities around the country, you have taxi fleets are largely manned by immigrant and many of them Muslim drivers. Is your sense that there's going to be any connections between your group and others across the country?
Absolutely. Yesterday in Philadelphia, the Taxi Workers Alliance of Pennsylvania went on a similar solidarity strike and stood with the protesters in San Francisco, in Austin, Texas, in Houston. One of the things that's happened is because of companies like Uber, we are a workforce that's been so deeply fragmented and impoverished, right? And when workers are kept poor, it has an impact on civil society. It's harder for people to rise up and take collective action. But we are at a moment of such deep urgency in this society. And I'm really proud of our members and of the drivers across this country. This was a real act of courage, particularly to have a workforce that's predominantly Black and brown stand up in this time.
Lyft, the competitor to Uber, did respect this work stoppage and said they were going to give $1 million to the ACLU over the next few years, as did Sarah Paulson at the SAG Awards, the big acting awards last night.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been an outpouring of support, I think, for a variety of organizations, but also, that's a small part of what matters. What matters is people doing what they can to make a difference, and that's what we're seeing. That's what we saw this weekend in every way. Contributions are important, but getting out and standing up
$24 million
are really...
this weekend and 150,000 new members. I mean, this is a response that's sort of unprecedented.
And mobilizing those people is what those people and the people they know and the people they know and the people these people know is what's going to make a difference.
And Nisreen, I want to ask you the reaction in some of these countries to this ban. I'm wondering if you're getting a sense from the people that you still know in Sudan and your sense at the international airports as you are coming, what the reaction abroad is to what's happening here.
People are outraged, and the people directly affected by this are deeply concerned. They're afraid. In my case, my parents are not green card holders. They live in Sudan. My sister is a dual Australian Sudanese citizen. And she lives in Australia, and we're now on 3 different continents. And because of this order, we can't see each other. And that's scary. My father is almost 80. If I wanted to, see him, or if he wanted to come, he couldn't do that. And I think people
Despite your being a permanent resident, right?
Exactly. And I think people are questioning the legality of, it's one thing to vet people. People like me from these 6 countries are probably some of the most, one of the most vetted people in this country. It's another to blanket ban people from, being allowed to obtain permission to enter the country.
And what it meant to you to see all of the protests at all of the airports when you came out?
It was heartwarming. I'm so happy that people are speaking out.
And Republican Senators McCain and Graham saying that this is the best terrorist recruitment tool when you criminalize whole populations, whole religions.
Right. I think, I think that's a fair point, and I think, this is not going to make the United States any safer, and I think it's a misguided policy. I think, in many ways, we also have to ask who's has the right to feel safe. Like, do I have the right to feel safe? And this is making a lot of people who are affected by the order feel unsafe and unwelcome in this country.
Well, we have a lot more to do in this show, and I want to thank you so much for being with us. Nasreen El-Amin was held at JFK Airport. She is a Sudanese green card holder, a student at Stanford University. We want to thank Baravi Desai, who is head of the Taxi Workers Alliance here in New York City. And thank you to Omar Jadwat, who is a lawyer with the ACLU, whose case brought the challenge and a federal judge's ruling to stay the deportations from these airports, at least for now.